Hi everyone, this week's Parsha is Parshat Ekev. And to begin this week's Parsha, we go through a bunch of different considerations that the Jews had throughout their time in the desert, now coming into the land of Israel. How are we supposed to fight against our enemies living in the land? How are we supposed to enter the land? What are we supposed to eat? How are we supposed to keep the mitzvot in the land, right? All these considerations we have no idea how to deal with, yet we have to deal with them as a people. And I think there's an extremely inspiring message behind each of these different factors at the beginning of this week's Parsha. And I think it's really pointed out in one of these in particular with the man. With the manna, the food that the Jews would eat in the desert. And in this week's Parsha, we have a verse that says that in the desert, the Jews were hungry, we were starved, and God satiated us with this man. Why? To teach us as a people that we aren't just satisfied by bread, right? Bread is a staple of, it's a sign of being satisfied throughout all Tanakh, all the books of Torah. And we see here in this week's Parsha that, no, the bread isn't the thing that's satiating you. Really, Hashem is the life, gives the life breath to everything. Hashem is the factor that satiates people, not the bread. And I think that this is a beautiful common theme throughout each of the considerations at the beginning of this week's Parsha that the Jews were struggling with. Again, how do we face up to our enemies in the land? What do we eat? How do we enter the land? How do we keep all the mitzvot? There are many, many more considerations at the beginning of this week's Parsha. And that common thread is that, no, all these things that we might think are impossible, really they are possible. Because Hashem defies all of those odds. Hashem is our sustaining power, the one that satiates us throughout everything we need. And with that, we're able to accomplish anything. So my bracha for all of us this week is that we're able to have this in our daily mindsets, that really all these things that we might think are impossible are really possible with the help of Hashem. And with that, I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom.